Let's take a look at Acqua di Parma's Colonia Essenza. What's going on, everyone? My name is James from J-ROYL, and this is a fragrance review on Colonia Essenza, or Colonia di Essenza, or Essenza di Colonia. It is a fragrance that was released in 2010 by Acqua di Parma, which is a very prominent Italian niche fragrance house. They create a lot of amazing fragrances for men and women. I mean, they're mostly unisex, but you can kind of tell which ones are a little more masculine, and this is one of them. Colonia Essenza tries to capitalize on the success of Colonia, one of the oldest modern fragrances for men. It's kind of a paradoxical thing to say, but it's basically 100 years old, but it still is worn today by many, many people. At its base, the original Colonia was your standard, slightly green, citrusy, fresh fragrance. And that's a fragrance style that has kind of been replicated by a lot of fragrances up to this point. Essenza is a little more contemporary in the way that it's composed. Instead of just being green citrus, it adds a little bit of an herbal quality with rosemary, some vetiver in the base that's a little more prominent, and there's overall more of a soapy feel rather than a cologne feel. I find Acqua di Parma is a little bit of a barbershop style fragrance, kind of what you would smell in an actual barbershop with all the shaving creams. It's very gentlemanly, but not super dated and old. Most of all, this fragrance features the note of neroli, which does give it a clean style of fragrance, similar to Mora and Vert's 4711 from way back in the day. But this is obviously a little more of an in-depth version of that style of fragrance. What's good about this? The biggest pluses of Colonia Essenza is its versatility and its performance. Although I'm a huge fan of the Colonia line in general, the original and even Pura and Assoluta, they're not the best performers. And you don't necessarily need monster performance all the time out of your fragrance, but you want something to last the entire day so you don't have to reapply it, bring a decant with you, or just put on an entirely new fragrance. Essenza has consistently given me full day performance when I wear it. It's wonderfully composed because even though neroli is the main player here, it's not your typical super fleeting neroli that you would find in Mora and Vert's 4711 or even Neroli Portofino. The wonderful, slightly spicy citrus feel does persist throughout the entire fragrance on my skin. And also because of its fairly safe composition, you can wear this year-round. You can wear it indoors and outdoors. This is a signature scent if I've ever smelled one. And I have. I've smelled quite a few of them. And what are my complaints? There isn't a whole lot to complain here, to be honest. Colonia Essenza is often touted as being one of the best fragrances for men by Acqua di Parma, or even in general. And the reviews online reflect that. It's wonderfully blended, it's very classy, but still modern. Interesting duality going on there. But it's not going to only last until lunchtime, it'll persist until dinner. I will say, however, that with all of the basic Colonia flankers, there is some redundancy and there isn't a whole lot of deviation from the original Colonia. Yes, it smells different, but it's still within that same genre and isn't necessarily all that unique, even though for what it is, it's probably one of the best. I find that I kind of get a little bit underwhelmed when I wear Essenza, perhaps a tad bored, unfortunately, and that's not something that I want to feel when I put on a cool fragrance. I want it to excite me. I don't want to feel sleepy. Should you buy this? Yes. Although I'm not totally crazy about Essenza on myself, it didn't even make my top 10 Acqua di Parmas. That still doesn't mean that I'm not going to recommend it to you guys. And the reason for that is this is a fragrance that is just so well made. It's one of the kings of its genre. It's just not a genre that I'm all that crazy about considering what I already have in my collection. The fact that I have hundreds of fragrances at my disposal, it has now led me to the thought process of I only want fragrances that really jump out at me. Ones that are extremely unique, creative, serve a very specific purpose in my collection. And of this subcategory of fragrances, these kind of gentlemanly barbershop cologne style of fragrances, I feel like I already have all of my favorites. And although Essenza is a fantastic fragrance, it's just not one that I reach for all that much nowadays. This could change as I grow older, and maybe I don't want to wear the sweet fragrances anymore. Then this is one that will definitely be in my rotation pretty heavily because it is that good. And that's why I don't want to discourage you guys from trying it out, because it is one of the more well-made fragrances on the entire market. But that's just my opinion. Get your own for once. So for all you guys that were asking why this wasn't in my top 10, now you know. If you guys want to see some more content, there's some videos here. There's another review right there and a subscribe button right there. Right there.